Hey guys, let's get ready with me to go to clinicals. So I am a nursing student at the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire, and I thought for today's topic, we should talk about how gender norms affect women in nursing. That's so fun. All right. So honestly, I chose this very intimidating topic mostly because I wanted to be informed about the profession that I'm going into. And I think it is really important as a nursing student myself to understand the implications of society's perception of what they expect of nurses and what that looks like, how that affects them. I don't know. It's something that I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. And if you're watching this video, you might be in the same boat too. I think that as young women, we need to stay informed and stay on top of how society perceives us, and you know what do we do with that in general? I don't know. I honestly find it really concerning, the culture that has been created around the professionalization of nursing. And yes, young women may be, well, not young women, just women in general might be the majority of nurses, and that's a great thing, but there's still a lot of things that we as nurses ourselves and also society needs to conquer to go against those gender norms and fighting society's expectations of what makes a nurse and how a woman should act. Okay, my face is primed, moisturizer's on, clindamycin, benzoyl peroxide on the face too, of course, because a girl's trying to have clear skin. Anyways, all right. So I think a really good place to start with this is kind of looking at the history of female nursing. And so y'all might know that it started originally back in the Civil War. The mother of nursing is considered to be Florence Nightingale. Big, strong, powerful woman. We love a girl boss. And she always fought for nursing being its own profession in its own right. Standing alone as a medical profession. Yes, nurses are not helpers, but I mean, they assist. They don't do the things a surgeon does, but I mean, they're there. They are medical professionals in their own right. And I think that's a very powerful thing, and we should always remember that. But I mean, especially back in the day, these women who were doing all this work, especially during the Civil War, throughout history, they were still viewed as subordinate to men, to doctors, who back in the day, let's be honest, they were all men. Women could just not be doctors. They could either be a nurse or a teacher. That's it. And I mean, we've come a long way from that since that day. I mean, thank you to our feminist ancestors who fought for these rights so that women could do more than just that. But nursing was considered a domestic profession because it was a woman's job. Women worked in the home, and if they worked out of the home, it was literally nursing or teaching, but nursing. And it was considered a domestic profession, at least according to the Advanced Journal of Nursing. And honestly, the public still does carry this perception to this day. And there's a lot of these stereotypes that are still attached to nursing, and it all stems from nurses being generally perceived to be women. You've heard of the sexy nurse outfit, the kind of thinking that nurses are there to just be helpers. They're the little handmaidens or whatever to the doctors. They're subordinate. They're less than. Because back in the day, women were considered less than helpers. Domestic work, as in taking care of the home of children. And that transferred over into the nursing career and what society still expects of it, which is to be there, to care, to help. But I mean, it's a lot more than that, and we know that now. But it still affects these nurses to this day to try and be taken seriously as medical professionals in their own right. They are smart. We are intelligent. And that's really important to remember. And okay, just put on a little bit of concealer, but let's get back into it. So with all of these stereotypes that have been warped, connecting to nursing, it becomes a really big burden on nurses in general, which really sucks because these nurses are surrounded by the societal idea that they should be nurturing and caring and like a motherly figure. And those really are all good things, like in their own right. These are great aspects to have as a person. I think everybody should be kind, especially when you're working with like sick people. You know, you don't know what people have been through. Everyone should be kind and caring. But why is it that these terms are kind of more associated not only with nursing, like when you think of a nurse, but with women in general? It's also the exact same like stereotypes and perceptions that we have of what femininity is and what female traits are. And these associations and the biases that come along with them really stem from what's called the social roles theory. And basically, to sum that up, because it sounds really scary and heavy and important, but it is basically just that the occupations that are dominated by a specific gender go hand in hand with influencing how that gender is perceived in the public. And as we know, nursing is a very gender divided profession. Most nurses are women. And that is a really great thing. But it does play into the social roles theory because women are seen as caring, motherly, nurturing figures. They are still expected to provide these same aspects inside of a professional sphere. Hi guys, sorry, what I forgot to add was that women in healthcare are a lot of times expected to do extra care work or emotional labor. Basically, when I'm talking about emotional labor, I am talking about the labor of always kind of going out of your way to be nice, always being extra cheery, almost like mothering your patients, like babying them. And that is something that a lot of patients expect of their nurses, especially if they're women, because they are women, because there is this idealized version of what a woman should act like already in their head. So they expect these things of the nurses, and it's kind of like an internal and an external pushing, if that makes any sense. Internally, women feel this pressure to do this emotional care work because of the idealized version of nursing and women, like the ideal woman that they've been raised with, and also from outside because of the public expecting that of them too. And, you know, I mean, you never know what a nurse has just seen happen, and that's the thing. Like, somebody could have just died in front of them. It's ridiculous. Someone could have just died in front of them. Somebody could have just yelled at them. A baby could have just passed away. Somebody could have, like, ripped out their catheter and threw it at them, you know? And honestly, the point of what I mean by this is that because of what society expects of women, it's kind of that, like, service with a smile rhetoric that has been drilled into us, which is to always, like, go out of your way, to always be kind, to always do this, no matter what you're dealing with. Just because you're a woman, when you honestly really don't need to, like, most of the time. Like, you can still be nice and not be overly exerting, like, your mental health for another person, you know? And something that I did find really interesting as this article that I found, which was by this writer, Elena Papagiannis. I hope I said that right. Anyways, that women are taught to be nice. Here's what happened when I stopped. And basically, her point was of that article, she just kind of stopped going out of her way to be, like, overtly nice to random people that she doesn't really know. And she said overall she was, like, a lot happier. She was a lot less stressed out. She was a lot less worried about what everybody else thought of her and putting herself out for other people. And it just overall really helped her mental health. And I'll tie it back in, but like, stay with me. I want to talk about nursing professional values now. So a lot of the professional values that nurses have, I'm going to use, where is it? Over here. Okay. Stem from prioritizing being very, very flexible, putting your work first, and like basically putting work above all else and always being available to do your job, to be there for your patients, and like basically making nursing a full-time commitment, like motherhood, right? Do we see the connection here? So we see the connection between nursing being a full-time commitment along with motherhood, right? And with nursing being female dominated and motherhood being associated with femininity, it's almost like a big trade-off. It's almost like and especially now, it's almost like there's this culture of you can either be one or the other. There is no in between, okay? You can either be completely traditionally devoted to your family and raising a family, whether that's children or whatever, or you can be this good nurse who can be flexible, who can always be there, who can really prioritize work above every single other thing in your life. But let's do some blush. This one, you have to blend it so fast, otherwise you get these really weird, like, splotches, which I like this blush, but I don't like that thing about it, specifically. I feel like that's, like, a little uneven. Okay, whatever. With, like, all of these factors, the, like, prioritizing your work over a family to be like a good nurse, and like giving all of your time and flexibility to a job, a lot of nurses have been pitted, honestly, what happened there, against each other, because they feel like there's this like one or the other choice. You can either be a good nurse or you can have a family. And that has honestly turned into like a very toxic environment, because it causes these women, these powerful, intelligent women to still be stuck in the patriarchal cycle of and expectations of you can either be a mom or you can have a job, you can work and do that. And so these women end up kind of judging each other. Mostly a lot of like older nurses end up like kind of thinking that these like the younger nurses who do choose to have a family aren't good enough because they're not giving their all to the job, because they have to prioritize a family. They think that they should only do that. And that's like a very toxic environment to be in, where you feel constantly judged by your coworkers when you could just be working together as a team. This kind of one or the other choice and rhetoric that some nurses feel has really stemmed from them trying to solidify their professionality, their status as a healthcare provider. The expectations that the patriarchy has put on women, which is originally to devote themselves completely to motherhood, or, you know, to their family, to domestic work, as I was talking about before, has kind of warped and manifested itself into nurses fighting against this expectation by basically flipping it and choosing to devote themselves completely to work and judging other women who don't, because they are trying to really prove that they should be taken seriously and are smart and are capable professionals. Seriously. And I know, I'm gonna do my mascara. Hey guys, I finished my makeup. I went off camera and just kind of did like my blush and mascara and stuff. Anyways, but to kind of wrap everything up, because I do have to go, I wanted to put everything back into perspective. So basically, because of society's pressures and expectations of what they perceive a woman to be, from the birth of nursing, it has honestly morphed into pressure like on ourselves, feeling like we have to go out of our way to do this extra care work, or we have to prioritize our jobs over having a family or anything else, and even putting down other women who choose to not do that. And I wanted to really examine this and explain it to you guys, because I wanted, as a future nurse, to kind of get you guys to work with me and change the stigma and change our mindset, because once you're informed and you understand things, you can start to change the way that your reality looks. And I think that that's really important. I think that it's important to understand and realize that you can be a good nurse and you can have a family as well if that's what you choose to do or not do. And it's more important to prioritize your mental health. You don't have to go out of your way and drain yourself dry. And you can be a good nurse. So I think we can all work together. I think this was a good conversation to have. Thank you for coming with me to get ready. Yeah, I will see y'all later. I almost forgot to show you guys all fitted up in the scrubs. All right, wish me luck.